Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Arantaran Srila Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. So reading from Srila Prabhupada Bhagavatam, which is biography of ISKCON founder Acharya E.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is Bombay, or now it's called Mumbai, 1974. From November 1974 until January 1975. From November 1974 through January 1975, Srila Prabhupada stayed in Bombay. During this time, he persistently but patiently tried to obtain the no objection certificate, which would enable him to start construction of Radha Rasa Vihari's beautiful temple. His close involvement with this project impressed Giriraj and others who were dedicating their lives to Hare Krishna land. As Srila Prabhupada had written in Bhagavad Gita, one has no goal in life save and except acting in Krishna consciousness, just to satisfy Krishna. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. That order of Krishna comes through disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. To serve in a particular project, dedicating oneself to giving the local people Krishna consciousness was an opportunity Srila Prabhupada offered every disciple. His field was the entire world, and he was like an emperor who wanted to award vast lands to loyal sons. But his awarding of lands and projects was not for material ownership, which is always illusory, but for service to the Lord. Krishna was the proprietor of everything. Therefore, a preacher could remain in a particular area of Krishna's domain and try to free the residents from the clutches of Maya. Hare Krishna land in Bombay was one of Prabhupada's major plans, but it was only gradually evolving. As if Krishna first wanted to see the devotees pass many tests of obedience to Prabhupada's order before allowing the project to manifest. Although ISKCON owned a half-dozen tenement buildings on the Juhu land, law prohibited them from evicting any of the tenants. But no law said that the owner could not add another story onto his buildings. So Srila Prabhupada had requested Mr. Sethi, a loyal life member and a construction contractor, to build rooms on the top of at least 2 of the tenement buildings. Eagerly, Mr. Sethi had undertaken this order and had obtained permission for the construction. Now that the work was completed, the rooms were being used for brahmachari quarters, offices, and book storage. At last the devotees had vacated the straw huts that had been their residence from their first days on the land. This move not only relieved them from living in nasty, rat-infested quarters, but also allowed them to tear down the huts. And demolition of the huts had been a stipulation before the city would issue the NOC, which is no objection certificate. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 2, Text number 3. Tad Upalabhya Bhagavan Adipurusha Satsi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsarasam Abhiyapayam Asa. This is Rose again. So just do a few words. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsaram Abhipayamasa. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsarasam Abhipayamasa. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsarasam Abhipayamasa. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Purvachitim Namapsaram Abhipayamasa. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsarasam Abhipayamasa. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsarasam Abhipayamasa. Tat Upalabhya Bhagavan Adi Purusha Sadasi Gayantim Purvachitim Namapsarasam Abhipayamasa. Tat, that, Upalabhya, understanding, Bhagavan, the most powerful, Adi Purusha, the first created being within this universe, Sadasi, in his assembly. Gayantim, dancing girl. Purvachitim, Purvachiti. Nama, named. Apsarasam, the heavenly dancing girl. Abhipayam, asa, sent down. Translation of Prabhupada by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Understanding King Agnidra's desire, the first and most powerful created being of this universe, Lord Brahma, selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purvachiti, and sent her to the king. Responsibly, please. Understanding King Agnidra's desire, the first and most powerful created being of this universe, Lord Brahma, selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purvachiti, and sent her to the king. Purport. In this verse, the words Bhagavan Adi Purusha are significant. Bhagavan Adi Purusha is Lord Krishna. Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Lord Krishna is the original person. In Bhagavad Gita, he is also addressed by Arjuna as Purusham Adyam, the original person, and he is called Bhagavan. In this verse, however, we see that Lord Brahma is described as Bhagavan Adi Purusha. The reason he is called Bhagavan is that he fully represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is the firstborn creature in this universe. Lord Brahma could understand Maharaj Agnidra's desire because he is as powerful as Lord Vishnu. As Lord Vishnu, situated as Paramatma, can understand the desire of the living entity, so Lord Brahma can also understand the living entity's desire, for Vishnu, as a via medium, informs him. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 111, Tene Brahma Hruda Ya Adi Kavaye, Lord Vishnu informs Lord Brahma of everything from within his heart. Because Maharaj Agnidra specifically worshipped Lord Brahma was pleased and he sent Purvachiti, the Apsara, to satisfy him. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadakam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuktapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamshcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Balita Shri Vishaka Vitamshcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpavischa Kripasindhu Eva Patitana Bhavibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarana. With the mercy of Spirit Master, blind man can see the stars, lame man can cross the mountains, dumb man can speak eloquently. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Namaste Krishna Krishna Bhutlesh. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vashtati Deshapani. Translation again. Understanding King Agnidra's desire, the first and most powerful created being of this universe, Lord Brahma, selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purvachiti, and sent her to the king. So we can see here if we are surrendered to the Lord, then the Lord will guide us. If we have a certain desire, like Agnidra, his father was a pure devotee, but as you can see here, Agnidra has a material desire. However, he didn't try to fulfill it himself. He actually tried to approach higher authority. In this case, Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma fulfilled his desire. He knew what is in the heart. And it's a very interesting point that is given in Bhagavad Gita that we discussed this before, but it's interesting to bring it again, is that the Lord or our desires is like an aroma. It carries a certain aroma and certain consciousness, and it's described that just like flowers, they got a certain aroma, and aroma is flying over the field, and if the person, whoever smells that aroma, can smell that scent of the flowers. So when the wind is flowing above the field of various nice scents, then the wind picks up those nice scents and carries, and we can smell a very nice scent. And when the wind is flying above the field of some dirty substances, smelly substances, like happens sometimes in springtime when they make the land fertile with various things. If it's cow dung, it's fine. If you have no problem with cow dung. But if it is a different kind of substance, it can have a very bad scent. So the wind picks up that scent and then it carries far away. And even if it is happening somewhere very far, you can smell that aroma. So the living entity, the spirit soul, coming in touch with this material world and forgotten its constitutional position, then it carries this consciousness over various types of fields, which mainly is influenced by our association. By various types of association, we pick up various types of sense of consciousness. By negative association, we can become a sense of anger, envy, greed, selfishness, madness, and all types of similar things. And by association, saintly people, scriptures, and then also inspiration from inside of our heart, we also pick up a good type of consciousness. So this consciousness is infectious. By Sangat Sanjayata Kama, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 63, that by our association we pick up a certain type of consciousness. And in this material world, we tend to become attracted by various types of material desires. We become attracted to the association that brings various types of desires. And ultimately, we are looking for Krishna. We are looking for, as we did invocation to the class Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate means the source of everything, the most beautiful, most powerful, strongest, most famous, most wise, most renounced, person. That is Krishna, Bhagavan. That is the description of Bhagavan. And ultimately, the soul is looking for that ultimate source of beauty, ultimate source of happiness, ultimate source of knowledge. However, by being in touch with this material world, is looking in the wrong place. We are attracted by those opulences, like beauty. People are very attracted. Various types of beauty. Fame, famous people are attractive. Wealth, rich people are attractive. Strength, strong people are attractive. But this attractiveness, the essence of that attractiveness, because it originates in Krishna, that way it is attractive for us. And Krishna says that anything beautiful, anything powerful in this creation, it is a spark, just a spark of his splendor. So whatever we are attracted, the principle of attraction is Krishna. Just like nowadays, it is very popular idea is the law of attraction. But ultimately, the law of attraction works in a way that Krishna is the Lord of attraction. Because law are coming from the Supreme Creator, from Krishna. So the Lord of attraction is Krishna, and anything that we desire in this world, any desire we have, whatever way it manifests in terms of beauty, in terms of fame, in terms of strength, wealth, knowledge, etc. Very few people nowadays wants to be renounced, of course, but that is also opulence, to be detached from everything. That is a great, great opulence, because that's one of the foundations for happiness, is to become detached from matter and become attached to spirit. So we become attracted to those things because the original attraction is in Krishna. And we are looking for that ultimate object of attraction. Because here in this material world, everything has got the quality of matter. So even if there are beautiful, wealthy, and strong, and etc. things, they not fully satisfy our heart. We are looking for some ultimate object of beauty, ultimate object of wealth, ultimate object of fame. And here in this material world, we're just getting a little glimpses, perverted reflection of that Bhagavan, ultimate personality of Krishna. And therefore, we are not satisfied. Despite of the things, no matter how many beautiful things we look at, our heart is not fully satisfied. It's still hankering for more. And in fact, because our heart is looking for ultimate beauty, so the little glimpses of the beauty that we get here, it doesn't satisfy. In fact, it's even agitates our heart for more, and that manifests in a greed. We want more and more and more. Or if you don't get the object of our beauty satisfied, then we are frustrated. The same with wealth. We want more and more wealth. We are attracted by wealth. And if we get it, we want more and more and more. And if we don't get it, we are dissatisfied, we are unhappy. And the same with all other types of opulences that originate from Krishna, they not fully satisfy our hankering. The soul is looking for that ultimate, most beautiful, ultimate, most strong, ultimate, most famous person, and is not finding that object in this world, and therefore is dissatisfied. So no matter how many desires we have, and no matter how much hard we work to satisfy them, they lead to frustration ultimately. So here, Maharaj Agnidra, he had some desires. So even to satisfy material desires, uh, there is a process, there is a structure in this world. So like people often think that they independently just can fulfill their desires, no problem. Whatever they want, they get. They just need to work hard. However, this is the principle even of material world, that the whole world was started, as read about Lord Brahma, that this world started under this very important principle called tapa. Tapa means sacrifice or austerity. Lord Brahma was born. He didn't know what is to be done and what is not to be done. What is the source of his creation? He sat down in meditation to understand what is going on. And he heard this word tapa. There has to be some sacrifice. There has to be some austerity. And Lord Brahma then sat down in meditation to perform the sacrifice, and then he became enlightened from inside of his heart. Krishna gave him direction and guidance. So even if you want something in the material world to satisfy your desires, it's not possible to get it without tapa. You have to work for it. And if anybody who looks beautiful in this world, and if anyone who is famous, anyone who is wealthy, strong, intelligent, or renounced, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Even if somebody is born with a spoon, a silver spoon or golden spoon in the mouth, as they say, that means they work hard in their past life. There is not a single thing in this world that we can see beautiful, etc., that come just pop from nowhere out of the sky. That means people who has got those things, they work, they perform sacrifice, they perform tapasya, they perform austerity, and therefore in this life they have got it. However, they are not satisfied. So first one has to recognize that there is a principle there, tapasya, that one by working hard, and also that's also not just sufficient to be pious. There is also there has to be some approval by Krishna. He sanctions it. Even if this law is there, whatever you do comes back on you, still Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he sanctions every little thing, not even a blade of grass moves without Krishna sanction. So anything but even comes good for us, for working very hard, is still sanctioned by Krishna. He remains ultimate controller in fulfilling our desires, even if we may not recognize it or be atheist, etc. We just work hard. Krishna is the ultimate sanctioner for anything what happens. So we come to this point, those who are satisfying and fulfilling their material desires, if we are a little bit analytical in our own life, we can see that we are not satisfied and not as much as the heart is hankering for. No matter what we have, there is something missing. And we also can analyze by looking at others that they are not satisfied. And many people nowadays, because of the media, etc., and some people are a little bit more honest, they admit that I have all this wealth, I'm not happy. I thought I will be, but I'm not satisfied. And there are so many other, things like people who who are very beautiful, superstars, etc. They admit, I have all this beauty, but I don't know who is my real friend. I don't know whether people around me are they because of my wealth or opulences or beauty, or they truly care for me. Are they interested in my person, or are they interested in my body? So when we come to this point that there must be more to life than this, then this is beginning of spiritual life. There must be more to life than all this striving to satisfy desires and getting what we want and not being satisfied fully, or not getting what you want and being frustrated. And even if you do get what you want, what about the other thousands of things that you don't have? So this is the issue and the problem, and this is where the spiritual life begins. And as we read that there is something inside of us, there is some communication that gets established. Because the Lord is in our heart as a super soul, as a Paramatma, is waiting for us to turn to Him birth after birth after birth. Then we start doubting. There must be more to life than this thing. Whatever I can perceive with the senses, whatever I can join through my eyes, tongue, etc., sensual objects, and material relationships. There must be more to this, and that internal channel starts guiding us, starts inspiring us. And actually, interesting, just to share a little bit of my own spiritual journey. When I try to enjoy my senses to the max before coming in touch with the devotees. And there was one point when I was very frustrated with that attempt. I kind of failed at it to be materially happy. And I decided there must be something more to life. I started to search. Is there something more to life? Is there some knowledge? Is there some wisdom? And my first some sort of realization that there is something, some communication at that point. I was so looking desperately for something, and some communication established there in my heart that was telling me. And actually, while I was trying to look for the happiness in material way, enjoying my senses, etc., at the same time, I felt pain in the heart, despite of senses were getting gratified in a certain way through intoxication, gambling, etc. But there was some pain in the heart of dissatisfaction. And my first realization and some sort of message that I received was that I have to live in such a way that my heart is not paining. That was some sort of first step, message that was there. Somehow or another, I have to start living in such a way that I don't feel that pain in my heart. As through some suffering, we can get some purification, and then we start to look for something, and then Krishna can start guiding us. And that's what kind of put me on the spiritual journey strongly, that I have to find a way to live that it doesn't pain the heart, doesn't feel me bad. That now I'm enjoying today. I am enjoying my senses today. My senses are being gratified through sensual thrills or some quick relationship. But tomorrow, when I wake up, my heart is in pain. There is something lacking. There is something missing. There is some emptiness. There is some doubt. There is some misery, like that. And then I try to cover it up again with some sensual experience. But then when I'm alone, or when I'm again wake up another morning, again my heart is in pain, that there is something lacking. So that was the first kind of message and connection that was established. That brings us, that desire to find something, start bringing us into that association of someone. Then it depends on the quality of your desire. Are you looking for something quick? Are you looking for something cheap? If you can't enjoy materially, can I find happiness in spiritually? But still, that desire is quite selfish at that point. And then we have to see, do I want just something quick and cheap, this quick fix, just a little crystal somewhere, just a little something, a little book or something, just a quick fix? Or do I want to go really, really deep and look at my desires and go to the ultimate source? Or I just want still enjoy material life, but in a spiritual way? That is so much prominent in the field of spirituality. that I still want to live exactly more, or, not exactly, but very similarly materially motivated life. This is all about me, but I try to do it in a little bit nicer way, in a little bit, my diet is a little bit better. I'm treating the other people a little bit better, but it's still, I'm this kind of center of the world. I still want, to be happy, just at an expense of others, or other beings, like that. But I'm not approaching the ultimate source of happiness. I'm just trying to be happy relatively. So I don't enjoy in gross ways, but I still try to enjoy in a little bit more subtle ways. But I'm not connecting with the source of all happiness, to Krishna, uh, who is Bhagavan. According to the quality of our desire, if we want something really deep and genuine and ultimate, then we are guided to the association that are looking for something ultimate, that are aiming for that ultimate cause of all causes. Or if you're looking just a quick fix, something cheap, we may get an association who are just looking for something cheap, or looking for, again, materialistic spirituality, that we still try to satisfy our material desires just in a little bit better way. So that internal guide, this Paramatma, is guiding us. So there is a difference, though, between desiring, still desiring and accepting that there is the ultimate goal, which is Krishna, Bhagavan, and still having a lot of material desires, but accepting that ultimate goal is Krishna. That is very, very good point to actually start. When by associating with sadhus and silly people, we realize that Krishna is the ultimate goal of our attraction. We're looking for something, we're looking to be attracted to something, but that ultimate Lord of attraction is Krishna, and Krishna means all attractive. And all our desires that we've been hankering for, birth after birth, life after life, can be fulfilled in relationship with Him. So by associating with saintly people, by sadhus, we start realizing this point. So in the beginning, we are guided by what is called Chaitya Guru, internal Guru, Paramatma, when our desire for self-realization is awakened, and that brings us into association of saintly people. And then we understand what is that ultimate desire that I want to fulfill, that this can be fulfilled in relationship with Krishna, that ultimately our heart is hankering for Krishna, and it will be only fully satisfied when we establish this loving relationship with Krishna. But if you want something material, then even in the field of spirituality, we will find something material is so much there nowadays on the offer in the field of spirituality. But we can judge by the thing, by its result. Are the people who are practicing it, are they still material attached, or they like a very nice externally, but when there is some problem and you scratch under the surface, and then all this anger comes out, and envy and greed, or is it generally heart is becoming transformed, and is the heart is becoming full of compassion, and is there manifesting attraction to Krishna, or is one is living in a denial of this all attractive, most beautiful personality, despite of looking very, very spiritual, but completely rejecting the idea of the Lord of all attraction, Krishna. That means there is still a lot, very, very a lot to go. There is so much there to go. if one is living a kind of spiritual life, but is living in a denial of the one's ultimate source of everything, that whatever one has, that Krishna is the ultimate proprietor. So here we can see that Agnidra, he had his desire in his heart, and he approached Lord Brahma. He was kind of worshiping Lord Brahma to fulfill his desire, and Lord Brahma sent what he wanted. So also for ourselves, in the beginning stages, we may still have many desires, uh, but we understand that Krishna is the ultimate source of our desire. So until we reach that point that we want only Krishna and nothing else, we'll have this struggle of dealing with our material desires. But if Krishna is still the best person to approach, even if we have various types of desires still, because if we approach various types of demigods, etc., you may get your desire fulfilled quickly, but there is no change of heart. The beautiful thing about Krishna is that Krishna knows what you want, and also Krishna knows what you need. So, with fulfilling of your desire, Krishna will also purify your heart. There is some change of heart, just like Felix Prabhu, as soon as he came into the ashram, he wanted, I want to paint the ashram. That was his desire as soon as he came in, like 3 months ago. My desire is to pray. So now his desire is being fulfilled. It's painting the ashram. It didn't happen straight away. It has been 3 months, I think now. The desire is being fulfilled. But with that desire fulfillment, we get purification as the Krishna's mercy. There's a change of heart. So when the desire gets fulfilled, and we are doing what we wanted that we're doing with the higher consciousness, doing with a higher understanding. And sometimes when we get what we want, we realize it's not exactly what we wanted. There is something better. There is something higher. So we fulfill our desire gets fulfilled, but we realize, it's not actually what we wanted. What I want is this, and ultimately we come to the point that I only want Krishna. So as we are performing this, connecting everything, our desires to Krishna, and some of them we have to give up. Some of them are just not favorable. Some of desires we have to give up. Intoxication, gambling, meat eating. These are not favorable things for Krishna consciousness. But other desires we can dovetail and connect with Krishna and do it as in a Krishna service. But ultimately, what we want, and we are practicing, that the only thing I want is to please Krishna and and, and nothing else. So I stop here. Yes, Guru.
Question to dancing in general that is mentioned in the verse.
Uh-huh.
Lord Brahma selected the best of the dancing girls in this assembly.
Mm.
And I was considering about dancing in the material world and dancing in the transcendental world, the spiritual world.
Mm.
Could you please elaborate a little bit more about that? What is the difference between dancing in the material world and dancing in the spiritual world?
That's a really good question, because sometimes people think that if I start, I'm having like various things that I do in my life. So many of them I enjoy. It's like fun thing to do. If I become spiritual, that means, that's it. It's gonna be just a life of misery. There is nothing there. It's gonna be a life of struggle. Uh, so there is, of course, part of jnana like that, there is a realization, and what things that we have in common with part of jnana, there is a realization there that material things cannot make you happy. But the jnana impersonal part, or that is elaborated by Shankaracharya, and people in line with him, they say, yes, it is misery, and we also agree it is misery, but the approach how to deal with it is different. So Shankaracharya advises just give up, take sannyas, give up this material world because it's illusory, full of misery, and just renounce everything and just study, the scripture, and then you'll be happy because this all this source of misery. This is not a part of Krishna consciousness. It's not a part of bhakti. It's actually very dry. It's quite dry and miserable path of existence. But bhakti, Krishna consciousness means whatever we do here in the material world, it is an actually shadow of a real thing. There is a dancing in this material world, but there is a dancing in the spiritual world as well. In this material world, the center of our dancing is ourselves and our gratification, or even the person that we are dancing with. Maybe necessarily we're just thinking how I can enjoy that person in a gross way, or maybe in a subtle ways as well. If we are in a better consciousness, and maybe in some subtle way. But still, that center of dancing is still, us and our gratification, or at least some exchange. I gratify you, you gratify me. There's some business like of exchange. In the dancing, I gratify you, you gratify me, and therefore we are together having a good time. Uh, and then there is in heavenly planets. So that's a little bit higher thing, there is some dancing which is mixed. There is a little bit for Krishna, and a little bit for myself. These are called the demigod. Demigod, is a person who's got a mixed desire to please Krishna, but also, mixed desire to please themselves. So this is the heavenly realm. And Krishna, being so kind, he appreciates that these people, they are trying to do something for me, even if they still want to enjoy so much. They're trying to do something for me, they're trying to do it in a nice, good way. So there is a realm, heavenly realm, where that is facilitated, things are very, very nice. There is a drinking there, but it's a somaras. It doesn't degrade your consciousness like in this world, but it raises your consciousness to the mode of goodness, somaras. And then there is a dancing, the society girls. So there is an interactions in a mode of goodness there in terms of relationship that doesn't degrade you like in this material world, but there is certain degree of upliftment. Press the button. So that's the heavenly world. And then in spiritual world, there is also dancing. There's also dancing with Krishna, but then the object of the dance and gratification is Krishna, is to give pleasure to Krishna. And because of that consciousness, the quality of experience is so much. Even the gopis, and the gopas, etc. There is a dancing there, but their desire is to please Krishna. Krishna is so grateful for the desire to please him, and there is not even desire anymore to enjoy. There's a zero desire to get anything in return in spiritual world. But Krishna is so grateful for that selfless desire to please him that he awards happiness that is actually even greater than what he experiences. Krishna is so grateful that he awards happiness to those who want to love him and please him and serve him to the much greater degree that he enjoys it himself. Is so unlimitedly grateful and reciprocal with that love. And that happiness is so great that he comes himself as Lord Chaitanya to experience it. And is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the servants of Krishna enjoy happiness that are much greater than him. How Krishna is grateful here, a person who is, the boss, or whatever, the CEO, chief executive minister, or whatever, and he wants to become richer and richer and richer and try to make this big profit, and is all about that person very often. But Krishna, who is the actual point of attraction, the Lord of attraction, is so grateful that he awards the happiness to those who please him much greater than himself by his own sweet will. He doesn't want to enjoy everything for himself, but awards the happiness that is greater than him. That is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And to be this insignificant, small, little servant of Krishna is so great that him, Advaita Acharya, Lord Nityananda, who is Balaram, they all come to enjoy the happiness of being servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. Because that happiness is so great, they forget their divinity. They put aside their supremacy. And there is so much more happiness in that intimacy that is there of being servant of the servant of the servant. That in the spiritual world, uh, you know, Krishna wants to enjoy that intimacy so much more that he hides his divinity altogether. Nobody is aware that he is Supreme Lord, but everybody loves him so much, and that there's a fulfilled relationship is there. So that dancing, Krishna-centered dancing, is not that we are deprived of those wonderful, things that we enjoy in this world, or they're not necessarily wonderful, but they're just shadowy of the real thing. Spiritual life is not deprived of that, and we do dancing every day here in the temple, chanting, dancing, feasting. That's the very spiritual problem that we have. Is just a little taster of a spiritual world where every step is a dance, every word is a song, there's a festival. So that answers your question.
A quick question at this time. Like in the prayer to Sri Guru Vandana prayer, it says attachment to lotus feet of the spiritual master is perfection that fulfills all desires. And then also you have Vanchakalpa Durgascha. The devotees are just like desire trees and can fill the desires of everyone. And then you actually have desire trees in the spiritual world and in the holy dharmas. So what is the difference between approaching Krishna to fulfill a desire, spiritual or material, or somewhere in between? Or what is the difference between approaching Krishna or approaching, say, the spiritual master, or Srila Prabhupada, or Vaishnava, or the holy dharmas? What's the difference in category, or what's the correct procedure for expressing, say, spiritual desire or whatever it may be?
So devotees are represented. So Krishna's to approach, as we read as well, is described, Lord Brahma is described as Bhagavan because he's the representative of Krishna. So whoever represents Krishna, just like Queen representative, we had a grand opening of Krishna Eka Farm in 2012, and there was 2 deputy lieutenants, because there is a various types of representatives of Queen around the UK. So the lieutenant couldn't come. He was busy. Then deputy lieutenants came, and so his representative. So you offer respect as that representative. They can fulfill just like a government representative. Government is kind of giving benefits to people in various ways, and etc., facilitating various activities in the country. So representatives of government on behalf of government, they do all that kind of job. So it's the same approaching Krishna or approaching devotee is the same. However, according to our consciousness, the same when we read the same verse, like devotees fulfilled their desire trees to fulfill all desires, and spiritual master, how does it go? Spiritual master. What is the translation again?
It's affection, attachment to lotus feet of the spiritual master. It's a perfection.
Shri Guru Charan is Uttamagati is a perfection that fulfills all desires. So, for the person who is very materially motivated and still got a lot of desires, that means that by taking the shelter of the Lord, my desires will get fulfilled, whatever I want, I'm gonna get. And that is, like a very beginning stages of Krishna consciousness when God's looking for Krishna to fulfill one's desires. And that is good, to approach, even he has so many material desires to approach Krishna or his representative. And, often people in India, they approach Prabhupada, can you give me blessings so I have a big house, big car, and my son gets PhD and etc. But it's not really a thing to approach the saintly person for. What it actually means is actually that ultimately we want for Krishna. And all those various types of desires that we are attracted in this material world for opulence, fame, this and that, is actually, it's a manifestations of that desire that instead of being like a one ekeha, single pointed, it has become a many, many branched, into many things. I want this and that and a third thing. I want beautiful things, wealthy, strength, fame, knowledge, etc. And all those different wide spectrum of desires that they have. But actually behind that surface of what they want, what they actually want is Krishna. So that's what it means to fulfill all your desires. Because when you find Krishna, you don't want anything else. All your desires are fulfilled. So that's what it ultimately means. That when you're, strive for fulfilling desires, achieves its perfection, when you found the ultimate source and object of your attraction, you don't want anything else. And there is no more other desire in your heart. And that's called devotees are wish-fulfilling trees, because that hankering that we had here, birth after birth after birth, for so many things, and our heart has been burning for birth after birth for to get what we want. It starts achieving its goal when we connect with Krishna. You start feeling that even if there may be still many desires, you start feeling that when that fire of desire in our heart starts cool down, bit by bit, mantra after mantra, day after day of service, association, slowly that burning fire starts becoming satisfied and pacified as we discover Krishna's attraction and beauty and service and his name, chanting his name more and more and more. The burning desire in the heart becomes satisfied. And that sounds for Krishna.
Yeah.
So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande.
It's grace, Prabhu ki.
Lord,